Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this simple video, I'm going to be doing something very simple. So we are going to be looking at the local storage in your browser where you can easily temporarily store data. So let's say you are trying to save a name that the user will see when they come back up or open their browser again. Let's say the website theme, color, stuff like that. So something that the browser can easily remember and use it when the user accesses it. And remember also this, it can easily be wiped out if the user clears all their browsing data. So it's temporarily stored. So it's a local storage system. So I have a simple folder here on my desktop, color changer, and that's what I'm going to be using to demonstrate how this local storage works. So what I'm going to do is create a simple file. So touch index.html, can type, and they will give us a simple file here, index.html. I'm going to create a simple markup for every HTML document. Press tab, and I'm going to call this color changer. Well, it's just the title, you can call it anything you want. Did I press save? Then I'm going to create a simple div. This is just markup with the class of container. Wow, conta. Conta, I meant container. And inside here is where we're going to be having our elements. So the first one is going to be the div. It's going to be a div, and I'm going to give it an ID. It can be a class or ID, so I'm just going to give it an ID. So div theme, this is user defined. It's a class, you can call it anything you want. And then below here, I'm just going to put a simple label tag. Label, wow, VS Code can see this, and it's going to be your color, camera case, your color, and I'm going to just write edit color or choose color. Let us say choose color, because we're going to be choosing color. And below here we are just going to put, so this is all freestyle. You forgive me, I'm just typing this just from the top of my head. So the input, we are going to create an input that is going to be for color. So the type is going to be color. Why are they giving me a checkbox? Whoa. VS Code can't understand this. Type color. So you can remove the name attribute. Whoa, delete. And where you're seeing ID, I'm going to put this, your color. So this corresponds to the ID that is going to be here. So the user can easily click on this word and they activate this input box. Let us open this in the browser, open with live server, or you can just go in the folder and double click on this index.html file that we created. Very simple. So at first we are just going to be having this label tag and the input field. As it's taking too long to open, oh, they have finally opened the file in the browser, and this is what we are seeing, a simple color picker. So the type is color. It's what we are going to be working with. right? So let us design this element. So what I'm going to do is create separate files. How do you see? Let us not congest this HTML or the markup page. So what I'm going to do is go here and I say touch style.css and say app.js. So we are creating two files. So style.css and app.js. And there you go. We have two files here. So let us link them on the page. So I'm going to start linking. So app, since they're in the same directory, so I'm just going to write app.js. Come here and link our style.css. So link css, and that's it. So we have three separate files, the app.js and style.css. So we have all linked to them on this document, index.html. Let me create view. Where can I go? I think I need 3 columns, right? This is going to be for style.css, and this I'm going to open app.js. So at the moment, let us remove the sidebar because we don't need it right now. So we are going to style this element with the ID of div theme. So div theme, and we are going to say width 500 pixels. Then the height is going to be 200 pixels. The background color, I'm just going to use a teal color. So background, and we are going to say 008080. So that's a simple teal color. If you had to save this and go back in the browser, we are having this. So let us add some margin bottom of like 15 pixels. So margin bottom, and we are going to say 15 pixels away from that element. So the label at the input field, and let us save this, preview it in the browser. Yes, let us add some shadow, box shadow, box shadow, and I'm going to say 4 pixels, 3 pixels. Then the alpha is going to be RGBA. So red, green, and blue alpha. So 0 for red, 0 for green, and 0. Yeah, and the alpha is going to be 0.3. So we get some simple gray color around the box, as you can see here. And let me style my container. Remember, all the elements are wrapped into this parent element or div with the class of container. So I'm going to select container. So it's a class. I'm going to say width. It's going to be 40% just to center it. And I say margin 0 auto. Very simple. And our element should be somehow centered. Very, very simple. So let us, that was CSS just to style all this. So we want to, when the user selects a simple color here and they click away, so on change we want this color to also change, And later on, we have to remember the color that the user saved in the browser, right? So very, very simple. We are going to now switch to our app.js. Remember, we linked it in the HTML document. Very, very simple. So let us cross over to our app.js. I can cross this style.css at the moment because it's done. We are now going to concentrate on JavaScript now. So let us get access to these elements that we have here. So the input field and also the div that we want to change its color or background color. Let us select. So I'm just creating these variables. So color selector, these are user defined or color select. So, and we say document dot query selector. So it's the same as document.get element by ID or by class, stuff like that. So query selector, what I'm going to do is get access to this ID. So it's like a selector where the user will be. So we say hash your color. So this is the ID of that element or input field. Then what next? Let us get access to this element with the ID of div theme. So very, very simple also. So let, and as I said, these variables are user defined. So I'm going to call it box div, right? So you can call it anything you want, so long as it makes sense, because it's somehow like a box if you are to look at it, right? So document dot query selector, and we are going to access the ID, which is div theme. So make sure it's what you post here, hash div theme. Very, very simple. So we have access to those two elements, and it's time to go and add events on them. So what we're going to add an event on is this input field. So on change, you want when the user changes or selects a color. So on change, the moment they leave the selector or the color picker, so that's on change. We want to change this. So what I'm going to do is get that variable that we created up there, color select, and I say dot add event listener, and the event that we want to listen to is the change event. So first you write the event that you want to listen to, and the next option here or parameter, you pass in the function that you want to run when they change. So I'm going to create a simple function. It's not yet created, but this is what I'm going to call it. So I'm going to call it change color. So when they select a color and go away from that element, so they are going to execute this event on change, and they're going to be calling this function. So let us go ahead and create this function. So function change color. Very, very simple. So what we are doing is when they go away, let me just put an alert here. So on change alert, new color. Let us go back. You seeing this? The moment they go around and select a color, the moment they leave, we say new color. So they are calling that function on change. Very, very simple. Now, what we want to do is get the value of the color that the user would have like selected, or they selected. Let's say they come here and do this. So we want to get the color value. So what you're going to do is create a simple variable here. So it's a const because we are just going to use it once. So the const, and we say my color. So this is just, let's say, user color. So what the user has selected, user color, and we set it to color select dot value. So this is the easiest way we can get the value of undo dot value. So this is how easily you can get what the user has selected. Let us just alert that the browser. So user color. Let us do this and change. We are seeing that. So that's the color what the user has selected. Let us go to black, which is supposed to be 00. Yes, very, very simple. So we now have access to what the user has selected. And the next thing is to change the background color of this. And that's going to be also very, very simple. So what we are going to do is get access to this variable that we created here, and we say box div dot style dot undo dot background color, and make sure, I can't spell, and make sure this is in camel case because we are working with JavaScript right now. We are not in CSS. So we say box div dot style dot background color, and you set it to the user color, which is the variable that we created up there. So user color, remember, it's storing whatever value that is here. So what we are saying here is box div.style.background color and set it to whatever the user has selected here. Very, very simple. So what you're going to do is go to the browser and select any color. Let's say red, on change. Very good. Are you seeing that? Go to this. Very good. But remember, when we refresh the page, it's going to go back to the default color, what the styling.css has by default. But what we want is, we want the browser to remember what the user has selected. And that's when the local storage function, or not function, like the local storage subject comes in. Very, very simple. And it's going to be one line of code. We are just going to go down below here, and we are going to say local storage. This is how simple it is. Local storage, and we say dot set item. So this is how you store in that local storage. So set item, and it will take in two values, so the key and the value. The key is, it's like an ID, what you are assigning to the local storage. So we are going to just call it user selected color. So I've just come up with this. This is something that you can easily come up with so long as it makes sense. So user selected color, and the next option is going to be that color what the user has selected. Remember, the user is going to be selecting this, so we pass it here. So, sorry, I never copied it. So you pass in the user color. Save this, and let us go back to the browser, and we are going to open the console. So right click on the browser and we say inspect, and they are going to be opening up the inspector section. And right here, we are just going to click here, and we go to application, make sure where you're seeing applications, where you click application, and on the left hand side we are going to be seeing something called localhost, not localhost, local storage. So I already saved some in the local storage. So but right now we should see this key that we created, user selected color. So when I come here and I choose any color and on change, we are going to see this. So this is the value of the color that we have stored in the local storage. This is how simple it is. Local storage, set item, the key, and the value. So the key is like an ID that you assign to that value. So later on when you want it, you just call the ID that you set or the key. And this is very, very simple. But remember, it's going to be doing nothing. When we refresh the page, it's going to go back to the default color that we set. But remember, we have already stored the value of what the user has selected. Now what we need to do is get whatever we stored in the local storage and reapply it back to the element. Very, very simple. So this is how we are going to do it. So we are going to come here and we say window dot onload. So when the window loads, we are going to be calling this anonymous function my SPs. We are going to be calling anonymous function here, and we are first going to check if this key is really in the local storage. So we are going to say if, and then we check for this key or the ID. You can call it the ID, but it's a key. So we check for this key. If this key is in the local storage, you write local storage. So if at all that is in the local storage, then what we are going to do is just create a simple variable here, and we say save the color, and we are going to assign it to local storage dot. So this is how we are going to get the value or the color from the local storage. So remember here we said set item. That's when you are saving into the local storage, but when we want to get the value, we say get item. So we are getting the item called user selected color. So you just pass in the key here. So we are getting the user selected color. Very, very simple. So right now, just know whatever color we saved into the local storage, it's now saved into our variable we created here, saved color. And the next thing is to style the box div with that saved color. So we say box div dot style dot background color, and we set it to the saved. Remember, whatever we are getting from the local storage is now saved into this variable. Let us put it here. And let us save this, go back to the browser, and yeah, they are picking up whatever the user selected here. So let us get another color here and change. You are going to see this value changing the moment I close the color picker. Are you seeing this? It changed, and when I refresh the page, it's going to be remembering that color. So even if, let's say, let me just copy this and close this, paste it here, we are going to come back and it still remembers the color that is in the local storage. Are you seeing this? It remembers whatever the user stored or selected for this. But let us also now change the value of the color picker. We want whatever the user selected to stay like chosen also like the default color. And that's very, very simple. We just come here and we get the color select. So we get color select here below. So color select dot value, and that value will be the saved color. Very, very simple. So refreshes. Yeah. So whatever the user selects, it's going to be saved here. Refresh the page, and yeah, we're having the same color. So this is how you easily do this. But for this, let's say this is not available in the local storage, you can say else, just console or print out an alert to the user that this key is not available in the local storage and do something with that. But this is the simple function that we came up with, where the user can easily select a color and apply it to anything, and later come back, and that color will also be remembered in the browser because of this local storage. So guys, if this tutorial was useful to you, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll be seeing you in the next tutorials. Peace.